Okay, so I had this introspection today in my flow state staring at the fan on my 15-minute study break. One of the strangest things about us as humans is how confidently we use our preferences as map to ourselves as our identity. We hand them over like credentials, like here, this is who I am. And then the other contradiction is when others just base their whole judgment on someone on the basis of one singular thing. Like, no shit, Sherlock, baby. Baby Bahi is watching Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi because her grandma watches it during lunch, during dinner, every day. I mean, if you think about it, even when we bond with people, our shared interest, our taste, plays a huge role, doesn't it? But it shouldn't be the defining factor, is what I feel like. Because recently, anytime you ask someone who they are, sooner or later the answer becomes a catalog. The music they listen to, their favorite tracks, the films they admire, the book collection, the art they gravitate towards. Their acquired taste becomes character references, a proof, a preference that is accumulating into their identity somehow. And to some extent, that seems reasonable. Who you are is shaped by what you repeatedly choose to let into your mind. But I think there is one complication that we don't account for, or rarely account for, and that is nostalgia. Because nostalgia introduces preference that seem to operate entirely outside of taste. There might be a song you still keep in your playlist, sometimes play on loop. Objectively, it has almost nothing in common with the rest of your music. If it appeared beside everything else you listen to, it would look misplaced, but you still return to it, not because of the song, but because it carries an entire afternoon inside it. That 7th grade trip to the amusement park, that crowded bus, friends who felt permanent at the time, doing their best attempt at karaoke not to bore themselves in the ride. The song played on loop in the bus because they didn't have any good playlist, and it was so annoying you couldn't even stand it at that time. And on top of that, the horrific unison singing of your friends. But now after hearing it, it's all flashbacks, a preserver of those memories. The song remained because the moment did. And then there is this film, the film your dad insisted on watching on your every birthday like a sacred ritual. The dialogue, the same melodramatic theatric singing, the same scenes. You might have spent years convinced it wasn't your kind of film, yet somehow along the way it became dear to you. Not because your taste evolved towards it, but because memory quietly attached itself to it. The memory of your dad. I wonder how many things we keep not because they align with our preferences, but because they preserve a version of someone or something we once held dear, or a version of ourselves, a testament to our past, our growth, the phases of life we actually lived. You know, that DIY name alphabet bracelet kit that your overtly mellow cousin used to hand over at every family gathering. That one bracelet that clashes entirely with your dark academia aesthetic, yet you still wear it. A photograph of a random Swiss mountain you saw and saved on your PC because it somehow reminds you of reading of Heidi in 2nd grade in the library. I mean, objects and experiences that survived not through aesthetic merit but through emotional inheritance. Are they important too? Do they have significance? Because I think this is where things become a little difficult to separate, where the intersection happens. Because if taste is supposed to reveal who you are, then what are we supposed to do with things that we love for reasons that have very little or nothing to do with taste itself? The song you still replay even though it no longer resembles the person you think you are. The film you continue revisiting because somebody you loved once sat beside you while it played. That bracelet that does not match anything you wear, yet you still somehow make it belong to you more than the objects that you like, of the memories. People speak about preferences as though it emerges from a conscious choice, as though identity can be curated through discernment and aesthetic alignment. But I'm not sure if that is entirely true. Some of the things that remain with us the longest were not chosen because they were exceptional. They stayed because they arrived during a certain season, a certain phase, a certain moment of our lives, and quietly attached themselves to us before we even noticed. And years later, we still carry them. Not out of obligation, not always out of sentimentality too, simply because somewhere along the way, they become inseparable from an emotional architecture of who we were. I somehow wonder at what point memory stops feeling external and begins entering the self permanently. At what point does an inherited affection become indistinguishable from personal taste? Because the attachment exists now, regardless of where and when it began. We still replay that song. We still remember the dialogues of that movie before it arrives. We still reach out for certain things almost instinctively. And perhaps that means the boundaries people try to draw between nostalgia and identity was never as stable as it appeared. After all, if something continues shaping what you return to, what comforts you, what you cannot quite abandon, then maybe the reason you first loved it matters less. Then what matters is the fact that it is a part of you now, and you still return to it. I know it's quite paradoxical in the end, don't you think? Yeah, this was the deep thought I had that still kept me awake at 2 a.m. Please let me know your opinions about it.